and I call on Deputy Micheál.
Thank you, Taoiseach. You might, Taoiseach, in passing, just confirm that the reason Leaders' Questions has been dumped to this late hour is that you were opening a newsroom, apparently, and that took priority over Leaders' Questions. And, you might confirm that for me, Taoiseach, if that is the case, because I think
let's get on with the question because it's time.
Topicals came before Leaders, and it's now 25 past 8, and I think it's a serious undermining of the status of Leaders' Questions to be asking very serious questions at this hour of the evening. Can I put it to you, Taoiseach, that Deputy Shortall said today during the debate that telling the truth matters, matters very much to people generally and to members of this House, and that in the context of the Fennelly report, there's some very disquieting contradictory evidence between your evidence and the evidence of the Secretary-General, Mr Brian Purcell, former Minister for Justice Alan Shatter, Garda Commissioner Cannon, and indeed Secretary-General of your own department, Martin Fraser. If I'm to take the two Secretary-Generals and Mr Cannon first, they're very clear that the issue that you might not have confidence in the Commissioner should be conveyed to him if the matter arose at the Cabinet the following morning. Your evidence is extremely non-committal on that and very unsatisfactory. But what's even more worrying is that when you look at Mr the Taoiseach's evidence, Deputy Gilmore, the Taoiseach, according to Mr Gilmore, and quoting from 3131 of the Fennelly report, went on to say that if he were asked in the House if he had confidence in the Garda Commissioner, he would not be able to say that he had. He added that if he said that he had confidence in the Garda Commissioner on the Tuesday and information relating to these tapes emerged on the Wednesday, he would then be in a very difficult position. Mr Fennelly says, Justice Fennelly says, the evidence of Mr Gilmore, although it relates to what the Taoiseach said the following day, provides significant corroboration for the proposition that the Taoiseach did express doubts about whether he could continue to express confidence in the Commissioner. Although this conversation occurred after the Commissioner had retired, it is significant that in an entirely different setting, the Taoiseach was speaking to Mr Gilmore of the issue very much in the same terms as are attributed to him by Mr Fraser, Mr Shatter and Mr Purcell on the evening before. Now, your response to Justice Fennelly is extremely difficult to comprehend. Initially, you tried to suggest you didn't agree with the Taoiseach. Then you said you couldn't recall the accuracy of what he had said. And later that he could not verify whether the words attributed to him by Mr Gilmore were the actual words that he used. And then you returned to the theme of the necessity of being able to defend. Taoiseach, I would put it to you that there's something fundamentally of concern that your evidence is significantly at variance with the evidence of 4 very senior active personnel involved in this entire scenario. So I'd ask you to first of all,
sorry, Deputy, we're way over time. Thank you.
Comment on the Taoiseach's account of his meeting with you and before the Cabinet. Do you agree that that's what you said to the Taoiseach?
Taoiseach.
Well, I think if you read the report, you'll find that both in respect of the meeting on the Monday and on the Tuesday, that the Commission investigation points out a difference of recollection from people who were at the meeting. Now, the important point here is that 16 months later, a learned Supreme Court judge goes through all of that evidence, which is given on oath to the best of people's ability, and makes and draws his conclusions and puts out his findings as per the terms of reference given to him by the government. The interim report that we referred to today referred to 2 elements of that were requested of me from an all-party Oireachtas committee here, which I complied with completely, asked that the judge would deal with that, which he did, and obviously requested formally that he would, produce an interim report on both of those issues before the main report. Now, it is disquieting. It's disquieting also for you, Deputy Martin. Disquieting for you, because you are party to wanting a commission of investigation here, which I complied with and which the government complied with. That's a statutory sworn commission of investigation. And when the Justice wrote to me and said that he wouldn't be able, I didn't intend to produce his report on an interim basis until after the Bailey case was dealt with. You said that this should be challenged. You said that this should be challenged, which was a direct, if you like, a direct attempt by you to have the sole member of the Commission of Investigation produce the report in the way that, at the time that you would like it. Now, the important point here are the conclusions that are drawn by the Commission of Investigation. Well,
we're not listening.
no,
We're listening to Timmy there.
no, the point I'm making to you.
Sorry, hold on a second, would you please? Thank you. Sorry, would you please stay quiet? Deputy,
The Commission of Investigation has reported after 16 months. It has set out its conclusions. It has set out the fact that variations in accounts have been given by different people, and the learned judge has drawn his conclusions and given his findings in that regard. And the findings are a direct contradiction of what you said in this House, that I sacked the Garda Commissioner. I rejected that consistently, and obviously the Commission of Investigation findings support that very strongly, in that there was never an intent, discussion or motivation in any way to remove the Garda Commissioner from his position.
Deputy Martin, 1 minute.
Just a very simple question. Taoiseach, did you agree, or do you agree with the testimony of your former Taoiseach, Deputy Gilmore, who was very, very clear in his evidence that basically you said that if he were asked in the House, Mr. Taoiseach, if he had confidence in the Garda Commissioner, he would not be able to say that he had. And that's what the Taoiseach said. And the Commission says, actually makes a finding on what you call the variations of evidence. And it's as follows, when it says it's given careful, very detailed consideration to the question of whether at the meeting of the 24th of March in the Taoiseach's office there was discussion whether words were used by the Taoiseach. It says the Commission finds it impossible to resist the conclusion that in some form the Taoiseach did indeed say that putting at its lowest he might, in light of an impending difficult Cabinet meeting, have difficulty in expressing confidence in the Commissioner. He did so, this is the Commissioner, the Justice saying about you, Taoiseach, he did so in the knowledge that any equivocation in his expression of confidence was problematic for the Commissioner. Taoiseach, you sent the Secretary-General out in what I consider to be a very improper journey.
Please.
It was an improper thing to do, to use the Secretary-General to do your dirty work for him or for you. But fundamentally, the Justice Fennelly is saying that he believes the testimony of Deputy Gilmore, Mr. Fraser, Mr. Purcell and former Minister Shatter.
Thank you.
Over and above your evidence or your inability to recollect anything. Taoiseach, the fundamental problem
Sorry,
you have
Deputy,
on this
you're
is
over time.
you're not telling the truth on this, Taoiseach.
Thank you.
You're not telling the truth.
Sorry, would you resume
You sent the Secretary-General out with one purpose in mind. The Commissioner is in no doubt about it. The Secretary-General was in no doubt about it because he said it was wrong what was being asked of him to do. You didn't, and you're not telling the truth on this one.
Thank you. Taoiseach.
Not the first time you've called people a liar, Deputy Martin. Now, today you said, why didn't you ring the Commissioner? Well, if you know your business, which I'm sure you do know that the Commissioner of the Garda of the day is accountable to the Minister for Justice through the Secretary-General of the Department of Justice. Now, you know that, and yet you say to me, why didn't you ring the Commissioner? Secondly, the Commissioner did write to the Commissioner, to the Secretary-General, under the section of the Act, of the relevant Act introduced by former Minister McDowell, which brings it to a different level. And the requirement of the first line of that letter was to bring this to the notice of the Minister for Justice. Had that happened, the Minister for Justice would have acted upon it. But the Secretary-General, when he attended at the meeting on the Monday, and when he went to speak to the Commissioner to give him my view that this was a very serious matter, he knew he had been written to by the Commissioner of the Gardaí. He knew, because it had been received 10 days before that in the Department of Justice. And as I said today in my brief contribution here, I found it absolutely incredible.
Sorry,
that
please,
this
will you stay
situation
quiet, please?
applied. And as I said, Deputy Martin, as I said,
there are other deputies waiting.
as I said, Deputy Martin,
thank you.
As I said, Deputy Martin.
Sorry, Taoiseach, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, hold a second. Would you mind your own business?
You're here.
Thank you. Deputy Adams, thank you. No, you haven't a mandate to challenge the chair. Thank you.